So here we go again. That idiot Matt Kean, the bloke who is on one day the Treasurer of New South Wales, on other the Environment Minister, the Energy Minister. This bloke is off with the fairies. He thinks that Twitter and the Sunrise Foundation are the only two things that matter in the world. This was him 24 hours ago.
What we want to see is if there is an opportunity for people to reduce their energy usage, so perhaps not using the dishwasher until you go to bed, that would help.
Seriously, a quarter of the way into the 21st century? Well, because of his policies, and I'll give you the receipts in a second, his policies, even the people who worked for the state government today were told to rug up because they turned down the heating at the Department of Transport today. That's the government in New South Wales. Meantime, the Australian newspapers headline tonight, "Get used to cold showers." What is this garbage? How are people copping this? How is there not a rage in every suburb? This is unbelievable. We heard again today from the Climate Change and Energy Minister, and when you put the two things together, it doesn't work. Now remember, we decided to change the hand on the wheel 1 month ago. It has been a shocker almost every day since, and this is the bloke in charge of your electricity supply.
The New South Wales grid will be under significant pressure between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. tonight. Everybody is working all day to try and avoid load shedding this evening. Very confident we can avoid blackouts. We'll be working very hard to avoid load shedding. Anything which is superfluous, isn't necessary, think about switching it off.
Now, honestly, this bloke is supposedly a champion of Western Sydney, a person who represents the working class. Remember when for about 5 minutes he tried to be the Labor leader after the 2019 election, then got out of the way for Albo to take over? The bloke who was standing in front of the fibro house of which he had came from as a kid. Well, these are the people who are being absolutely screwed over by the way he is running the energy system, and Matt Kean has been dismantling the energy system for years. Yet again, another example today about Matt Kean being out of his depth. He is not used to this detail. This is where saying lovely things at dinner parties slams straight against the realities of suburban and regional Australia. Today, he turned around and said, "Don't blame me, it's all Putin's fault."
Well, I always take responsibility, Ben, but let's be very clear. I didn't invade the Ukraine. I didn't make the generators old bits of equipment, and I certainly didn't make the weather cold.
This bloke, you cannot trust him when he says one thing, because the reality is going to be exactly the opposite direction. He says he didn't invade Ukraine, but I'll tell you what he did do. When Origin Energy wanted to sell one of the existing and working coal-fired power plants, guess who said no? Matt Kean and the New South Wales government. You want another receipt? Matt Kean has no idea how many people will be affected job loss-wise as a result of that power station closing. None. No idea. Head up his backside. Too busy trying to win over the dinner party set. When a federal government, the last one, tried to build a safety net for our energy market like coal, guess what? This was like going back to Blockbuster Video. How many times, and I've got to say it, we are where we are because of private companies that are only private companies because state governments sold them off, and state governments who refuse to do anything to improve the safety net of our power system. Are we in a transition? You betcha. Will we eventually move to some form of renewable system once battery technology can get there? Sure, but we're not there yet. And that's not climate denialism. But this bloke's got even more. Such is his obsession that he's even saying that a national park will go net zero, but not straight away, considering that last time I checked, it's mostly trees. No, we have to wait till 2028. What is it that's going on in our national parks that I'm not aware of that it needs 5 more years before 6 more years before you can do anything? This bloke, honestly,